live from one of my favorite places in all of Israel, the Shel Hasharon Hotel in Ariel. It is Hanok Young with an Israel update. How are you doing, man?
Hey, Mike, it's so great to be back in Shomron. It's so great to be guiding people. Um, it makes me yearn for our Connect to Israel group arriving October 31st.
Yeah, yeah.
And only you can truly understand the meaning behind the meaning. But lots of stuff going on. First of all, our governmental situation in Israel has gone from challenging to difficult to about to fall off the edge of the earth. Uh, it's long and detailed, but just don't be surprised to see a change of government sooner than later.
Wow.
And change of government does not necessarily mean elections. Within a parliamentary democracy, if you can pop up 61 people who say, we want to be in the coalition and we want Mike Clayton to head it, you can change governments. Now, I know a lot of the American listeners are saying, dang, I wish we would have something like that. But hey, what can I tell you?
Yeah,
What
I
can I
know. Well, on this side of the ocean, we're trying to find where is Jimmy Carter. So, I mean, that's where it's gone to. But
Oh,
well,
that's really
I mean, tell me, what's it like? How much have you forgotten over the years? And are you finding yourself a little rusty?
well. I'm not so rusty, but like when you deal with bus drivers, let's say, just for the sake of argument, they have a recollection of something from a number of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
insisting that there is a supermarket attached to the back of the Eshel Hashamron Hotel. There
Yeah.
was
Mm-hmm.
until about 5 years ago, and now it became one of those like here it's called Max Stock, which is basically like, you got
Dollar
like,
General.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a perfect example. Dollar General.
Well, actually,
Uh,
it would be more like Dollar General without the food. So it's,
yeah,
it's really nothing that anybody that's on a tour, really needs to go buy. So
no,
you
no,
have to go all the way into Ariel, which is what I did. They've got a beautiful grocery store there in Ariel.
yeah,
But
no, absolutely. There's another mall, actually not all that far from the Eshel Shomron. It's actually in walking distance. It just, you know, walking around the area is what it is.
yeah,
Um, but what was interesting is we were at Shiloh today, what some of our listeners probably still think of as Shiloh, but Shiloh remembers an American Civil War battlefield.
yeah.
The place where the Mishkan, the tabernacle, stood for 369 years is Shiloh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the group that I'm guiding actually participated in the archaeological dig at Shiloh today.
Wow.
And I got to speak to the head of the dig, Professor Scott Stripling, who was the one that, well, he himself didn't find it, but he's been reporting on the amulet found at Joshua's altar at
Mm-hmm.
Mount Ebal. And they actually believe, tentatively, that they found a different spot for the Mishkan, the tabernacle, on the hill in Shiloh.
Mm.
So that's really, really interesting news. Of course, our peeps from the Connect to Israel tour will get to be taken there by me and you, and I will show them all that stuff. So that's really pretty cool.
Okay,
At
so
Shiloh,
back up just a little bit. He thinks that the tabernacle might have been in a different area. How far off from the plateau where it's been traditionally thought of?
all you need to do is move up the hill
Okay.
towards the space. And those who have been at Shiloh will know exactly what I mean when I say the spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
That round circular place where you do have, the little show about Shiloh.
Mm-hmm.
There also is a really nice addition. There's a holographic representation of the tabernacle with a very short presentation as well.
Hmm.
So that's really cool. So that's new. It's interesting you bring up the question of like, did you forget anything? There's actually more stuff available now. During the time of COVID, different things have been able to be worked on, which is why there's now a second major tour within the Western Wall tunnels called the Great Bridge, the Gesher Hagadol. And I'm one of those guides certified to lead that tour. And it's really, really interesting to see so much of what has been dug up. Now, remember, the area of the Western Wall tunnels, we are under the what's called the Muslim quarter.
Right.
Only 5% of that has been dug to date. So there's lots of possibilities there. And by the way, I said, what's referred to as the Muslim quarter, because just to remind our listeners, what is called the Muslim quarter of today was largely Jewish until the riots between 1920 and 1939. Right. British, of course, who were in charge, did nothing to protect the Jews. All kinds of exciting stuff. There's a brand new sound and light show at the City of David.
Yes, I didn't get to see that, but I heard it, so I didn't go in there. But sounded like
I've seen it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they did a really, really nice job. The Wohl Museum, WOHL, small museum in the Jewish quarter, the quote-unquote Herodian quarter part, is still under renovation. The Davidson Center is still under renovation. So things are happening all the time. It's really, really kind of exciting.
Well, speaking of renovation, I heard you went to, you said you went up to Harbor Ka and out to the Hayavel base there. Talk about renovation now.
I got to say, it reminds me of a TV show from years ago, they're moving on up, yeah, and our dear friend Tommy Waller looks great. He sends very warm regards to you, Mike. And it's funny, he was making a few jokes about me to my group, and I couldn't help but think, did Mike mention any of that stuff over the last when you were here? So that was really cool. They didn't believe that I actually knew Tommy. So when he said to me at the end, so Hanoch, when are we going to get together for a burger again? They kind of looked at me like, well, you actually do know this guy.
Yeah.
So they have very nice facilities. They're doing amazing work.
Yes, they are.
You and Hayovel have been connected for many years, Mike. The fact that Hayovel is not more popular amongst alleged Christian lovers of Israel is a shame.
Yeah.
They deserve a lot of support. They're doing great work. They are on the front lines. They really are.
They are, and I think that there's been some recent changes regarding the administrative aspects of Hayavel, kind of freeing Tommy up a little bit to do more traveling and speaking. I think that's going to be a great thing. They're actually branching out right now into various places. It's not just the vineyards and the olive groves, but Hayavel has their hands in so many things that are going on in the area of Judea and Samaria, as well as planting prior to the Shemitah and now after, when the Shemitah is over, hundreds and hundreds of trees. And it's been a challenge, been a great challenge, because the Arabs come up and burn them down and pull them out of the ground and all kinds of crazy things that they do. But one thing I have to say about the whole Hayavel group is the tenacity. They just don't take no for an answer. They're going to continue to move forward. And anybody wants some information on that, then go to Hayavel's website. Also, the Israel guys, Josh and Luke, are doing a great update from Israel. So little bit of a plug for them.
Yeah, tremendous, tremendous people, amazing men and women, and tremendous allies of us here in Israel.
Hmm.
And, you know, they get it. They get it. I hope the people listening to the Israel update right now are saying, yeah, well, I get it too. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's fab.
we need more people that get it. There's no doubt about that in our day.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a few things on the news, some things about Damascus and all that. Are you able to keep up with those things right now?
sure. No, no, no. This is um there's more opportunity for me to check up on this stuff. We continue to bomb regularly and attack Iranian arms shipments into Syria.
Mm,
Um, we, of course, have to balance the fact that the Russian Army and Air Force are there too, which, of course, that then ties our hands even further relating to being dragged into the whole Russia-Ukraine mess. So that's ongoing. Hezbollah is threatening to attack one of our offshore gas,
hmm.
oil, energy rigs. This is standard stuff. Um, we live amongst bullies. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates the other day signed a free trade agreement with us. That should be a huge boom to our economy.
Hmm.
Um, I don't see it trickling down to tourism, but you never know. You never know. Uh, it is interesting to see who is here in Israel right now. Um, and how many people participate in what could loosely be considered a tour of Israel. But I see their groups, I see their guides, I overhear the conversation. It's like they go from one store to the other.
Mm.
And somehow that's considered a meaningful experience in Israel. Now, I know people want to buy stuff. That's
Oh yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah, retail therapy is always a part of our tours, and there are a lot of people that, as you've seen in the past, have gotten a lot of therapy there, to the
Well,
point they had to get another suitcase or two. But
right.
well, I
Sure.
just to give some perspective of some things between where you're at, where we're at here. On Jerusalem Post, they say that there is the first bill or the first reading of a bill has passed that would increase the minimum wage in Israel to 40 shekels per hour. Now, Hano, could you give me some quick math and tell me what 40 shekels is equal to?
Okay, well, you need to divide it by 3.35. I could do that on my phone right now, but then I would lose you forever. And we don't want that to happen.
Okay. So that's about $13 per hour.
Now, I don't necessarily see that going through,
Yeah.
number one. And I can tell you from my experience back in America, um, in a previous life, when wages went up, hours were cut.
Hmm.
Or when you a situation where we had workers that would qualify for benefits, let's say at 30 hours per week for the sake of argument, somehow, some way, you then had to make up schedules that gave people 28 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they never
It,
got to that. So that doesn't, the bottom line is poverty level in Israel is considered a salary of 8,000 shekels per month. Again,
mm,
you can divide 8,000 by 3.35, which is today's exchange rate. Now, that could be for a family of 6, 8, or in many cases, 10 people.
So that's about $2,700 per month.
Yeah,
Now, I'm trying to do this for a little perspective with everybody, because if you figure that this is the what is heading in this direction of a minimum wage of about $13 per hour. Gas prices in Israel are about $8 a gallon. Am I right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you purchase a car, which we will not ever allow Hanok Young to do, um, and those on the tour get to find out why, but you have to go on a tour for that story. Uh, if you purchase a car, you also pay a 100% luxury tax, correct?
if it's a new car,
Yeah.
if it's a new car, which is why there's a tremendous market for second and third hand cars. Um, Jerusalem, I just saw moments before we connected, Jerusalem has joined Tel Aviv on the list of the 20 most expensive cities in the world.
Wow.
So, as we say in Hebrew, no bueno.
Yeah.
This is not good. This is not good.
Yeah.
So, this kind of stuff really, really distracts people. But just about an hour ago, I was sitting having dinner with a bunch of people, and someone brought up the issue, someone was visiting and brought up the issue of vaccines, which is such a non-starter of a conversation.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is the people from my group were all under the impression that Israel had mandated vaccines to allow Israelis to travel around the world. Now, I'm giving this as an illustration. It has really nothing to do with vaccines,
Mhm.
but the idea that I've been pleading with people for years now to actually listen to me, or if you have a question about Israel, to actually ask me, because Israel has never mandated
Yeah.
vaccination.
No, but
And people said, well, weren't they requiring it for people to come? We didn't allow anyone to come, vaccinated or not,
no.
until March 1st, 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens, when you get when somebody gets their news off of Facebook feeds. It's just what happens. I mean, I get up every morning. There's a couple of websites. I look at the Jerusalem Post and Israel National News, or Sheva. I can take 30 to 45 seconds of my morning, and on just those two sites, get a pretty good idea of what's happening in Israel.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you spend time, scrolling on Facebook, you're not going to get anything close to the truth of whatever. So, and
Yeah.
rumors spread. That people make up things, and it just kind of goes from there. But that's another issue. So personal question here. I was just at the Shel Hashemron Hotel, spent quite a bit of time with Menachem. And of course, those that don't know about that hotel, Menachem and his wife Tova are the ones that actually built that and have kept it going through these years. How's Menachem? They had the memorial service for Tova just about a week ago. How's Menachem doing?
Well, of course, as usual, he was there to meet the bus yesterday and help the guys, begin to take the luggage off the bus.
Yeah.
I spoke to him, I pulled him aside. Of course, we spoke in Hebrew, and I just told him how incredibly sorry I was about Tova's passing. And you could tell he's broken. He's really broken. And this is a man who survived, horrific terrorist attack. I mean, it's just really, really sad. The hotel is as lovely and refreshing, because I don't know of another place in the world that you could go and stay and make a stronger ideological religious statement
Hmm.
of your belief. It's not the fanciest of hotels, but it is the most meaningful of hotels in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's funny, people, the pool is not filled right now. The hotel right now, my group is the only group in the hotel tonight. My guesstimate is that tourism in general in Israel will take 1 year to 1.5 years
Yeah.
to get back to where it was in early of 2019.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like maybe by December 2023.
Mm.
It's going to be a long, tough grind. It really will be.
Yeah, it will be. Again, what Menachem and Tova did there, they remodeled. The hotel was getting dated, and right prior to COVID, they went through and remodeled all the rooms, updated them, and yes, it's older, shows its age at times, but there's I'd rather be there than a lot of other places. Have you been up to the Biblical Garden yet?
Yes, but what was interesting is we only stayed in the section of the Mishkan, of the
Oh,
tabernacle. But work has been done there. It requires constant donations from supporters around the world. Friends from Europe, as you know, have really given the lion's share of donations over the years. I just really look forward to being back here, not only with our Connect group, we spend the first 2 nights here, but also being here with other groups and, not having the question that people ask me, gee, I didn't know that people were allowed to go to Samaria.
well,
And
that's funny because the lady that was sitting next to me on the plane coming back, um, who was Jewish, more on the Ish than on the Jew, she said, "Oh, you can go there? I didn't know that." And I had to tell her it was the West Bank because she had no clue where Samaria was. I mean, she could not have pointed to it on a map with help.
okay,
Yes.
as we were driving today, before going to Hawara,
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for
beautiful
the note.
downtown Hawara, there's we have it's interesting. We have this, I've seen the same sign or signage in Jerusalem, and we have the same thing in Modi'in. It's evidently become a thing where in big letters it says I with a heart, meaning love,
Mm-hmm.
and this I love Modi'in in English. In Jerusalem, I love Jerusalem. Well, here it's I love Shamron. So I'm mentioning, how wonderful it is and how excited I am to see that. So, okay, I'll spare you the long anecdotes, but it's basically, it's hard enough to remind people that Shomron is the Hebrew of Samaria. It's not 2 different places. And I'm not saying Sharon, relating to Ariel Sharon.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't understand at times. I've said this many times. I don't understand what people don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't expect everyone to have the knowledge, but when someone says to me, well, I thought Israel mandated this, or I thought Israel did that, and I ask the stupid question, well, you happen to know 3 or 4 Israelis. Did you
Mhm.
all ask any of them?
Yeah.
No, never thought of that.
That sign there at the Tepuach Junction that says "I love Shomron" cost me about 30 miles, by the way, because I was coming through there, and with my phone I clicked a picture as I was going, and instead of going to the second exit off and heading toward Harbor Kai, I went out toward the Jordan River Valley, and it was about 15 miles out there that I finally figured out I'm not anywhere close to where I'm supposed to go. So it was a nice little tour, a little extra tour there. And
Well,
hey, I was getting
we'll
about
point
30
we'll
miles to the
point it
gallon,
out to
so
our
that's
group.
only $16.
We'll point it out to our group.
Yeah. So tell me, where do you go tomorrow? What's on schedule?
Okay, tomorrow was supposed to be Mount Ebal, Mount Ebal,
Mhm.
Joshua's altar. But the army right now is stretched pretty thin with these ongoing operations to root out terrorism. So they couldn't spare. You have to go up under with an army escort
Yeah,
because
been there twice.
it's it is not under, and I bite my lip when I say this, it is not under Israeli controlled territory.
Mhm.
So that's the way the game is played there. So instead, we'll be going up to Har Kabir, Mount Kabir, Elon Moreh, and I'll
Okay.
be able to give our folks a view of the amount of blessings, the amount of curses. Then we go on to hear a presentation in Karnei Shamron, and then take the massive drive up north to go to Natseret, Nazareth.
Blessings. Um, if you
A
have,
blessing ahead. Yeah.
no. If you can fit in something, a little spy work for me. I've heard there's a new winery at Elam Moreh on Mount Kabir, and there's a scribe there. And so, maybe you could kind of talk them into stopping by so you can do a little, a little 10, 12 spy work for me.
I will do my best. But speaking of spy work, at Machon HaMikdash, at the Temple Institute, they have their own label of wine, a blend that was made for them.
Ah,
And I saw it and I thought to myself, this has got to be something that Mike and I have to try.
you're on. You're on. Okay, we can do it. We can do it. Well, hey, enjoy Nazareth tomorrow. It looks a lot like Bethlehem, by the way. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I haven't been there in 2 weeks, so yeah, I miss it a
okay.
lot.
Are you gonna end up somewhere around Gamla?
No, unfortunately not, because I have to leave the group late tomorrow night, so I have to
Yeah.
get a bus or 2 or 3 that'll get me to Jerusalem, and then depending on the hour, either a train or a bus, whatever, to get me back. Planes, trains, and automobiles to get me back to Modine.
Okay. Well, as long as you're not driving any of them, we're in good shape.
We sure are.
All
Take
right.
care, Mike.
Yeah,
Catch
bro.
up with you next week.
You got
Bye-bye.
it. See ya.